Forward to the cloud. Thank you. All right. So the magnetic and the electrical. Electrical comes from the brain. It's the masculine part. It's also the masculine part of your cell, because you hear me teach about the cell having two antennas, one that sends out, one that receives. The one that sends out, that's electric. That comes from the mind, the intellect, and the imaging, the thought. That's masculine. The magnetic bonding is the heart, it's the feelings. So that's where you hear me talk about this 2022 is really about moving into that feminine energy. That's that knowing, that's being able to rest in the knowing that it's all coming to you. Where the go-go, that's that masculine, active, chase, do energy. Now is the moment to take you back to my desert experience described to you in letter 1. You may remember that when I went to the River Jordan to be baptized by John, I was a rebel, my face set against the teaching of the Jews, who stated that Jehovah punished men for their sins. We all know how much that irritated him. Let's see. Okay, sorry, can't see to let them in. Intuitively, I felt that this was a false and cruel concept and rejected it. After I was shown the truth concerning creation, I could not understand why perfect consciousness did not create perfect beings made in the image of their creator, intelligent love. In other words, he's saying, why do these people do what the hell they do? I asked the creator, universal consciousness, why mankind has endured so much suffering and evil. I was then shown very clearly that all the problems experienced by humans arose from the central point of the self. Science now calls this the ego. It manifested itself in the personality as a driving need to defend the self from criticism or emotional, physical attack. And as Brandy, could you put yourself on mute, hun? Thank you. And a similar driving need to push aside other people in order to arrive first in the race of life. It also manifested itself in the personality. Wait a minute. Okay, no, we're good. As a driving need to take all that was best for the self despite the opposition of others. And a similar driving need to hold on to personal possessions, be they relatives, friends, material goods, or achievements, despite any opposition. I was also made to understand that without these two fundamental, eternal, undeviating impulses of creative being, there would be no creation. This is the secret of creation and the secret of existence and of individual being. By working together as a team, separately but inseparable in the visible world, these twin impulses were the means by which the substance of matter itself had been created out of the sublime universal consciousness. One impulse of creativity is the I-ness of activity. This impulse of activity is universal and stems from only one source. Activity is a movement in consciousness, and consciousness in movement. The other creative impulse possesses, figuratively speaking, two faces looking in opposite directions. They are bonding and rejection, which pulls towards the self, pushes away. It's otherwise known as attraction and repulsion. You attract it to yourself or repel it away from you within consciousness. These are the only means by which earthly existence has been achieved. When you've heard me talk about bonding and rejecting, it's what you align with versus what you don't align with. There's no judgment in bonding and rejecting. That wasn't the divine design. However, being in the matrix and forgetting these truths, we took on human consciousness. We decided that bonding and rejecting is duality. This is good, that is bad. And that wasn't the original design. The entire universe is a manifestation of the creative power active within these twin impulses of physical being, creating matter and individual form. This is one of the fundamental secrets of the universe. I saw that the core of the personality, or ego, as it is now called, had been created guardian of personality and was irresistibly imprinted with the magnetic impulse to ensure privacy and survival. For the protection of the individual I-ness, this was accomplished by using the two faces of the second impulse of being, bonding and rejection, to secure individuality. What he is saying is the original purpose of ego was to be our master librarian. It was to take in everything that we experienced through our human senses: taste, touch, smell, sight, and feel. Well, touch is feel. And then filter that through, did we like this? Do we want more of this or not? I use the Pepsi Coke controversy or example. Some people like Pepsi and don't like Coke. It could go vice versa. That was the original design of the ego, was to develop your individuality based on what you resonated with and what you didn't resonate with. No judgment, guilt, condemnation, blame, or shame anywhere in there. The face of bonding drags, draws, attracts, demands, pulls, buys, grabs, clutches, clings to the people and possessions it craves. This impulse creates an illusion of security in togetherness and possessions. It is the tool of Mother Consciousness, inspiring the building of families, communities, and nations. It can be productive of beauty, joy, harmony, and love. It can also wreck lives and destroy communities when it is ego-driven. In other words, when it's altered ego-driven. The face of rejection repels, thrusts aside, pushes away, evades everything. People, animals, possessions it does not want. Thus, the impulse of rejection creates an illusion of privacy and security. It is the impulse that urges rifts in families, relationships, communities, and nations. It is supposedly geared to saving lives, ensuring protection and privacy, but is a destructive force when it is ego or altered ego driven. Without these twin impulses of being, all things would have remained forever merged into one another within the eternal timelessness of universal creative power in equilibrium. We're going to go over that next week, so that will open up another aha moment for you when we literally dive into the universal creative power in equilibrium. Without these twin impulses, there would be no interplay of give and take and pull and push necessary to the creation of the millions of personal experiences out of which personality grows and evolves. Therefore, the problem of personality and the ego drive endured by all living things and mankind is an irrevocable, unavoidable fact of creation. Any other explanation is pure myth. I saw that what men called sin was the direct result of the interplay of the bonding rejection impulses within human nature. The bonding rejection impulses constituted the emotional mental mask worn by all created individual entities, including birds and animals. You see these impulses at work within all of nature, even within plant life. The bonding rejection impulses directs the behavior towards survival of all entities in creation. There was no escaping the bonding rejection impulses. These twin impulses were the ephemeral source of all worldly comfort, pleasure, happiness, and also the source of all sickness, misery, and deprivation in the world. However, added to these transcending, undying, and interpenetrating all is the life. Born of the explosion of universal consciousness, is the very foundation and source of earthly consciousness. Therefore, even as the father-mother consciousness is creative, so is man's thinking creative. For human thought and feeling are both the exercise and union of the twin tools of mother-father consciousness. He's saying that while you are made in the image and likeness, just like everything in the universe was made out of the father-mother consciousness, the universal consciousness, you too are created that way. Your brain, your mind is so powerful because what you entertain in your mind plays out in your life. It becomes your reality. That's what he was saying back here, where it says these twin impulses were the source of all worldly comfort, pleasures, and happiness, also the source of all sickness, misery, and deprivation in the world. That all none of that came from God. Nothing outside of love and perfection could come from source, God, universal consciousness. Anything else that has to do with the duality, judgment, sin, all of that, that's man-made concept out of the minds and human consciousness. Therefore, these impulses of bonding and rejection in the individual personality also become highly creative in that they determine and make visible the consciousness forms of things desired and things rejected. This is the second fundamental secret of the universe. I saw that sin was an artificial concept expediently devised by men to describe any human activity causing pain to others. Because of their natural makeup of grabbing from other people and of rudely repelling them in order to get what they wanted from life, it was inevitable that all human beings at some time, apparently I deleted the rest of my words, that it would at some time come to be. This human propensity to hurt others in no way caused offense to universal consciousness, God, as was affirmed by the Jewish and Christian religions. Jewish and Christian religions preach that if you say this or do this or something like that, you're offending God. You can't offend God. There's no way to do that. Only mankind understood the meaning of the word sin, since only mankind and all of creation subject to mankind would ever know the pain, deprivation, and misery caused by the two fundamental impulses of individuality, bonding, rejection, active within the human personality. Man's inbuilt impulse to protect his own individuality had made him set up rules and laws for human society. The universal creative power, love, had absolutely nothing to do with the setting up of human restrictions, limitation, laws, and judgment. That is all matrix. Jesus also saw that the father-mother creative power, life, continually flowed through all the universe and was the life in my mind using the twin impulses of thought and feeling. Hence, any powerful, imperfect thinking and feeling could disturb and change the consciousness pattern of created things. Conversely, my thinking, when fully cleansed of the twin impulses of ego, altered ego, and fully receptive of the father-mother creative power, intelligence, love, would reintroduce the condition of perfect, intelligent love. Therefore, a condition previously made imperfect as a result of imperfect thought could be brought back into a condition of wholeness, again by changing ego attitudes and thoughts to those of unconditional love. My mind was a tool of the whole creative process originating in the universal. Guys, this is a huge revelation, because the battle really is in the mind, because that's where altered ego and personality, altered ego being the personality that we're all trying to overcome. That's what awakening is about, and finding the truth to free ourselves, because that concept of a judging God created a lot of subconscious fears that play out in every area of our life. That subtle doubt or fear that you're a sinner, or you're making a mistake, or you're not going to go to heaven. I don't have to talk about how that makes you feel or any of that. We all know that part. So the truth of consciousness and life is your mind creates your reality. And it's an inbred twin impulse of human creation to automatically go to that altered ego standpoint. But now that you're gaining more illumination, more truth, and have enough experience to understand the contrast between the energies of when altered ego is acting up versus divine ego. Divine ego has no opinions. It is that place of neutrality. It comes from love. Now that I knew this was so, knew it spiritually, intellectually, emotionally, I realized I could and must take steps to overcome the twin impulses of ego previously governing my mind in order to allow the divine reality full scope through my mind and brain. This is why there was a struggle between my humanly entrenched ego and my father-mother consciousness during the very strident temptations I experienced at the end of my enlightenment in the desert. Satan had nothing to do with the tug of war which took place within my consciousness. And Jesus referred to and named Satan the human ego. That's his name for Satan. There's not a devil running around. Satan was not an angel that coerced, a third of the angels to rebel against God. Didn't happen. The war was waged between the twin impulses of individuality, bonding, rejection. Now, the twin impulses of individuality, what that is saying, individuality, Jesus is talking about when you are coming back into this knowledge that you really are an I am creator being, made in the image and likeness of Mother, Father, God. Here in this embodiment, to bring that forth, you're not here to please God. You're here to express God. And expressing God is your lifestyle. It's how you are, what you say, what you do, your thinking process. So that's what he's talking about, individuality, how you're showing up in life for yourself and living your spiritual truth of your I am personality. And the divine reality, which had made itself known to me as intelligent love, life, transcendent yet within me, and which would gradually take over my individuality to an ever greater extent if I continually meditated and cleared my consciousness of selfish impulses. We talked about that. I think it was the second episode of Spiritual Tea Time when I went over prayer. I may redo that one because that one didn't get recorded. And there was some vital information in there. Original divine design for ego was to be the master librarian of all we took in from our human senses. Taste, smell, touch, sight, hearing, and from these experiences choose what we like, bond, and what we do not like, reject, which makes up our individual personalities. Another way to visualize bonding and rejecting what you align with, what you do not align with. What is the consciousness of life? It is Father intelligence, impulse of movement, seen as electricity. Remember the go-go? That's the Father intelligence. Mother love is the impulse of purpose, nurturing, survival, seen as magnetism in matter. That's the feeling side of life. So the electrical go-go is the Father, the masculine, the magnetizing, feeling, nurturing, love, and survival is Mother. All right, look at next week. I'm going to dive into creation, and that's probably going to go longer than our normal time. Just so you guys are aware, I'm going to try to keep it in a condensed form, but there's a lot to go over. Okay, guys, I want to open it up for questions because I know we didn't meet last week. So anybody have any questions? Oh, let's see. I see chat. What's going on? Yes, Joan.
Yes. I think I got clarity as I wrote this question down, so I wouldn't interrupt, of course, because my brain was going. Yeah. It's like, yeah, let's chat a million miles away. Hello, pay attention, Joan. Because I work with people around money behaviors and clutter and cleaning and clearing, there is such a, and I just talked to someone yesterday that is actually doing something really detrimental to her financial wellness, even though she has a desire to do something different. And you were talking about, well, my real question, let me get to it, hello, is what is the inability to let go? And I got the bonding, rejection, repel, attract thing. So what is it, the altered ego that has us cling so tightly? How does that, yeah.
Yes, altered ego is the one that's holding on because altered ego doesn't want you to realize the truth. Because once you realize the truth and you're on this path to consciously love altered ego back to its original design, it's going to throw everything in the kitchen sink to say, no, 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 you're wrong, you're wrong. Because altered ego was created out of the energetic traumas of all that we took in, it essentially decided it's God and it knows better. And its whole thing, it's altered ego is very codependent. And it feels as if, because it's altered ego is the part of us, it's that fractured part that only knows duality. So anything of love, of truth, altered ego is going to try to repel that. It's going to bring up all kinds of things in your body and in your mind to talk you out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the only way to really get ahead of it is through meditation. Because in meditation and prayer, and that's why I want to redo the prayer one. We were all taught prayer. The way we were taught prayer is very matrix, and it's not not very effective. Meditation is when we basically say, okay, all right, God, all right, spirit, source, I am. This is my time with you. I'm going to get quiet so you could come forth. You could share the truths with me. And altered ego, it will fight you on meditation as well. I'll be the first one to admit it. I was like, I don't want to meditate. I could do this without meditation. No, I was wrong. Jesus was quite quick to be like, yeah, you think so? Go ahead and try. So, but in meditation, that really is where we can get still and quiet. And when we can quiet altered ego, because when we go to get into meditation and then all of a sudden your mind is just running a mile a minute, thinking about things you haven't thought about in a while, like, oh, there's a stray cat outside. Do I have enough food? I mean, just stupid
Oh my God, yes, stupid stuff. Yes.
Yeah, stupid stuff. And then you're off and you're like, and for me, I set timers for my meditations. Before you realize it, the timer's gone off and you've planned out your dinner for next month, just
Yes.
you're like, what the hell? That was altered ego. And altered ego's over there like, yeah, this is good. You didn't get squat diddly in there. So that's altered ego's role. Altered ego was created out of the human consciousness. So that's all it knows.
So if you practice meditation, which I have done every morning for quite a while, and I noticed that my brain is just going a mile a minute. Like you said, I mean, I could be planning my whole day and I'm like, I'm not even in the day yet. Hello. It's like, okay. And I try to politely invite my altered ego into what I call my God box. Open the lid, put it in, close the lid. And yet there it goes, chattering away. Are you saying that, I mean, I've been doing meditation for a long time and it's still chattering away. Does it ever shut up?
It does. It does. And here's one of the reasons why I am a fan of meditating before you go to sleep. I know a lot of people are against that, but let me share why I'm a fan of it. Because the trick with meditation is to quiet altered ego, to shut up the monkey mind. Sometimes that only happens when we're asleep. And sometimes not even when you're asleep. You can be very active. But one of the ways that I got past this was every night before bed, putting on deep sleep type of meditations. And they change every so often. But I feel into, okay, if I have pain in my body, I'll do a solfeggio or whatever pain frequency music. You can do guided meditations. And if you fall asleep, and I hear people say this all the time, they get frustrated and mad that they fell asleep. Do not get frustrated and mad. Please, please, please. Do not. Because when you're asleep, altered ego is in a box, zip tied, gagged, bound. It's not interfering. So your consciousness, your cells are taking in what you're hearing, even though your mind is shut off. The goal is your mind is shut off. So that's awesome. Then as you start to meditate during the day, one of the things that I have to do, even today, when my mind won't stop or it wants to start, I'll just say, peace be still. Peace be still, and kind of shoo that thought away. And before I realize it, the more I say, peace be still, then I'm back not thinking about anything. But here's an altered ego trap. When you realize you're not thinking about anything, all of a sudden, altered ego's like, we're not thinking anything. Then the thoughts start coming back. So saying, peace be still, or not now, I'll get back to you. And it's not about how long you meditate. It's about the quality. So if you're only getting 30 seconds, a minute, 5 minutes where your mind is quiet, don't get after yourself. Build on that time. So if right now it's 30 seconds, you get into meditation and there's no thoughts and then they all come. All right, 30 seconds is your baseline right now. Now you're going to go in and try to do the next time. Okay, 30 seconds. Let me try for 40 seconds. You just want to start building on that. Altered ego is going to want you to start getting after yourself and be like, oh, I'm not doing it right because I didn't do this. It's all mental masturbation.
Thank you.
Yes. Let's see. I was reading before bed. When I wake up, try to anyways. Sometimes. Yeah, keep doing that, Brittany. Brandy, yes. You can also find these replays either in your email or on my YouTube channel. I don't repost them on Facebook though.
So,
yeah, Jenny.
Are you saying that even though, like, if I go to meditate and I've been doing it, it's like I get nothing every time?
Don't
Does
go
that
in.
mean it's still affecting me, but I don't know it? I'm not aware of it?
You're not supposed to be. And that's altered ego trapping you, trying to let you know, well, you're not getting anything out of it. You're not supposed to, essentially. So let me explain that. You're going in to meet soul, your I am presence that you've had locked in a box since you were little. So everything starts inwardly on the cellular level first. So even though you're not seeing the results, feeling the results tangibly or how altered ego thinks you should, that's creating the doubt that's going to keep you away from it. So every time you go into meditation, even if it's for 2 seconds, you get quiet. You are getting something out of those 2 seconds. Because when you go into meditation to meet source or your I am presence, you're meeting perfection. That perfection, more can happen in 2 seconds than an hour meditation. So it's not about the time. It's about quieting altered ego in the respect of it's going to do and throw all kinds of thoughts at you to make you think you're failing at it. So you'll stop it, because altered ego knows meditation's the key. You can do affirmations all day long till you're blue. That's not going to change shit. Just not. Meditation and gratitude are really the keys to overcoming altered ego. And that's why altered ego gets really bullish when you want to meditate. So Jenny, yes, a lot of things are happening on the cellular level. And guys, we got into these different situations and things and altered ego through, it took a long time. So there is a process to undoing all of altered ego. We have to do it inch by inch. Because if we did come in, or, let's say we're Cinderella and somebody booed us and altered ego is gone and everything's great, we would we'd probably just dissolve, because we couldn't handle that. We need this process, because guys, this journey isn't about the destination, because the destination never gets there. We never arrive at whatever destination altered ego thinks we're going to, because we're infinite beings in an infinite universe, well, a multiverse. We will forever be learning and growing and changing. It's the process. It's that now moment and learning to love and accept the journey. But cellularly, all of this density and crap built up over years. So not saying it's going to have to take years to get rid of it, but it started at the cellular level before it started outplaying in your life. So now we're going back in and we are giving ourselves truth. So yeah, there's a process to that.
And what's the benefit? You were saying you meditated every night before bed. Is that because your mind is more quiet, or what?
It was actually because my mind wouldn't shut up.
Okay.
Because it seemed at night, right before getting into bed, all of a sudden my mind was on hyperdrive, overanalyzing, thinking about everything, and even creating things to think about. And it just wouldn't shut up, and I wouldn't sleep. And so I was like, no. Mm-mm.
So that helps that monkey mind at night, because, oh God, I noticed it got to be a habit years ago when I worked in a really stressful, high productivity requirement career. And my mind would just race a mile a minute about what I needed to do, what I did wrong, how I needed to fix it. And by the way, it could be something simple that when I woke up could be solved in a nanosecond. So the meditation at night is meant to kind of calm and quiet the chatter, is what you're speaking to.
Yes, it does. And what happens is
Dr. Denae.
monkey mind to sleep. Monkey mind is asleep. It's not interfering with the meditation. Because the meditation, you set your intention. Because remember, for meditation, we're not going in asking for anything. We are literally setting that intention to go in and meet source, meet our authenticity, allow soul to come in us, through us, and as us. Anybody else?
I need to get fucking 200 into this account before it goes.
Somebody's not on mute. I think it's somebody who has iPhone.
Possibly.
Yeah, because they're talking about something else in the background.
Okay. All right.
So I have a question. The twin impulses, bonding rejection, that's thoughts and feelings, or is that the same thing?
Yes, essentially it is. So the twin impulses of bonding and rejecting, that's for us to, whatever we experience, we get to decide, did we like that experience or did we not? No judgment in it. That's the key. Not to judge it or any of that, just kind of like, this water. Waterloo water is my favorite. I bond to that. I don't know, whatever other brand of water, bubbly, we'll just say, I don't like that one. I reject that one. So there's no judgment in it. It's bonding and rejecting is preference. When it's in divine ego or our original state of ego. When it's altered ego, that's when bonding and rejecting is that 3D, well, I don't like you because you did this, or, it comes from that judging standpoint.
Right. So it would be like, I like Waterloo water and all those other waters are ridiculous and they just taste like crap or whatever. So we're judging the other ones because our preference is over here versus just like, I just like Waterloo water. So what?
And that's where we want to be, because opinion, anytime we have an opinion about anything, we bind ourselves to that opinion. And guys, opinions aren't truth. It's literally, y'all could bend over, butt naked, and might as well talk out of your ass. Because opinions are. And they literally are like a noose around your neck. And they're all altered ego based. So yeah, when we can get back to that point of understanding it's bonding and rejecting, and we don't need to have, a 5-page dissertation on why we're rejecting something. Just, I'm not in alignment with that. And guys, that will throw people, because people that I run into from my past or whatever, and they'll ask me something, and before I'd go on, well, I don't like this because blah, 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 is all an opinion. No, I'm just like, no, I don't resonate with that. Well, why? because I don't need to explain. It's just altered ego always wants to eat at the buffet, and it wants house guests. It loves to find other people on the same hurt energy frequency. So it'll keep us stuck.
That makes total sense, because I found that I did that when someone pushed back. Oh, I'd like you to come to this. Well, I don't want to go to that. Well, why not? Well, this. And so that's altered ego coming up with all these reasons and excuses versus I just don't resonate. Thank you.
Exactly. Because we were taught the matrix ways. We need to justify ourselves. We need to,
I'll not hurt somebody's feelings or be kind, or I don't want to tell them I don't want to go to their party or whatever. Yeah.
Exactly. And, and that's where the twin impulses of bonding and rejecting get into that human consciousness of, well, you need to, Joan, I invited you for my amazing dinner party. Why aren't you coming? I want that 5-page dissertation. It's just ridiculous. It's like, you know what? I'm not in alignment with that. And this is the part of being able to move into that Christ consciousness where we can respect others and know it's not about us, and be okay. Oh, okay. For whatever reason, you don't want to come to the party. I respect and honor that. Maybe next time. But that's not how we were raised. If we think back, let's just go back to childhood. As kids, we didn't have a lot of say on what parties we went to with our adults. And, that whole thing of, well, you just got to go. You have to do this because it's respectful, blah, blah, blah. Well, you know what? I don't want to go. I don't want to be around those relatives. Don't make me hug or kiss them. He's a pedophile. That type of
stuff. Gosh, you so resonated with something with me. I had a creepy uncle, and my mother actually said to me, stay away from Uncle Henry, because I immediately, as a little kid, he gave me the willies, the creepies. And I always detest, still to this day, being required to hug or, somebody I don't want to. May not even want to hug, period.
Exactly.
Thank you. That was helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, exactly. And that's, guys, that creates, I'm trying not to cuss, a mind F in our head, because what respect and rules were instilled in us as a child until we awaken and really look at all of those and go, you know what? I don't align with that. And be okay. That plays out as a filter. Oh, well, so-and-so is going to think this. I grew up in an Italian family. And you do not say, no, don't hug me, don't kiss me, don't touch me. Well, you're not supposed to. And then there was me. But, those types of things are very detrimental. And altered ego loves detrimental things. So, yeah. Anybody else? Any other questions on twin impulses? Hey, Tito, I see you.
Hey there.
Are you recovering okay?
Yeah, it's just really sore right now, but he said it's gonna do well,
Good.
There were just things they should have done in the first time that they didn't do, but at least I have something to look forward to because he was amazing, really.
Good. I'm happy for you.
Thank you.
JC, you wanted to say something? JC?
Yes. So I just wanted to say thank you for putting that out there, because I have had not really an inner struggle, but a difficult time not judging myself for my parenting style, because if my kids don't want to go to the store with me, I don't make them. They're fine at home doing their thing, whatever. I can get that done, or all the way down to brushing my son's hair or whatever, because I've never cut my 4-year-old's hair. So and he has curly hair. Anyway, long story. I don't make them, I don't put lotion on their body, like for them in parts that like I wouldn't want someone else to touch them. Like I don't put it in their head at all that they have to accept anything from anyone, including myself. So that even is like verbiage with each other. Like I'm like, well, I don't talk to you like that, so you're not going to talk to me. Like holding healthy boundaries from a young age, because like I look back at my childhood and a lot of the things that happened to me were because nobody ever taught me that it wasn't okay, or that that was somebody crossing my boundaries. So I thought it was normal.
Yeah.
And I don't want my kids to think that being talked to abusively is normal, being hit, even like I have spanked my kids before, but I don't like to disrespect their body because I don't want them to think that that's normal behavior from a friend or anybody. But long story, it could all keep going, but I just wanted to say thank you because that helped me feel better about my parenting style. And like I've always felt like it's the right thing, but I feel the confusion coming from other people, and I don't really care. Like they're not going to be in my kids' lives if they're not going to respect us, and that's respectfully, like I don't know how to put that part, but I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it does. And, you know, us as parents, altered ego loves to beat us up for whether it's our parenting style, our choices, whatever. Or even if our kids do something, you know, all of a sudden we act like it's our fault or what have you. And many of us grew up where under that guise of kids are to be seen, not heard. And we were very invalidated. And
Yeah.
now, you know, we have kids of our own and things like that. The parenting styles are changing, but not for the mass of the people. It's for those of us who are awakening and who realize energy and like, you know, I know what I went through when my parents made me do this, how I felt. And the fact that you don't want that for your kids and that you're showing them, you're raising your kids as individuals, that they have a voice, and that is beautiful. Congratulations on that.
Thank
Because
you.
it's not easy, especially when everybody else wants you to conform.
Yeah. And there's boundaries that they know they don't cross with me, but I also hold those boundaries for them. I like lose my temper. All the things that like I was raised around are still inside of me, and I'm barely recognizing that, oh my gosh, like all the things that I've ever felt about myself came from that. It's the projection realization, and like not putting their I am presence in a box so that they're barely finding it at 27 years old. So I see the value in it, and I appreciate you. You've helped me along the way. Every time I hear something, even today, it's all things that I'm thinking and I'm knowing, and people who are not awakened will never understand that. And I understand that myself now. I can't push all my beliefs or expect other people around me to understand why those things are important to me. It only matters that it's important to me.
Exactly. And, you know, through religion, you know, again, there are some good things about religion. And if anybody listening finds peace in religion, then stay there by all means. You know, I come from the truth of what I now know. But, you know, none of us should be stepping on anybody else's beliefs, because the true design, as we were just discussing in today's episode, is we are here to express God through our individuality. We don't need permission from anybody to do that. It is innate. One of the other reasons why, you know, we don't have one book like religion has the Bible, because all of the truths are innate within us. It's locked within our DNA. It's locked within our cells. And next week, when I go through creation and how the atom and the cells and all of this came to be, we're going to get into that part of it. All of a sudden, I lost my train of thought. But anyways.
You're talking about getting into how atoms are created.
Yes.
But I'm like, your cells are listening. Like, it's playing in the background of my mind now. Like, subconsciously, I understand that if I wake up and I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to go to work later, and then I have this busy day, and who's going to clean my house and all of that. Like, if I wake up on that foot, I check myself instantly, because I'm like, I don't want to have a bad day. I do have a busy day, but I am going to conquer it. I can do it. Like, I feel it now. And your program is like life-changing. It really is life-changing, and it should be reaching more people, I believe. You're doing awesome.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it is. That's why I tout it as it's a lifestyle. You know, your cells are listening isn't just a program you do once. It's a lifestyle because it's the divine way. You know, our cells do store everything. It's in every cell, every atom of our body, that universal consciousness. And I love that, you know, you're recognizing those days that you wake up and, oh my God, I have all this to do, all this to do. You know, I noticed when I wouldn't catch myself and went on with, I got this, I have to do this, I have to do this. Oh my God, it was a struggle. And I resisted. So now on those days, I wake up and I reframe it. And I start to say, you know what? Today's a new adventure. I have a bunch of adventures I get to go on today. I qualify it with ease and grace, and really try to come back to that when during the day, you know, it's halfway through the day and maybe I've only accomplished one thing out of my 5 or whatever it is. But yeah, you know, once we
just, that's where, sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but that's where grace comes in, and you're like, you know, yeah, it's all right. I will get to it. If my body's saying I need to slow down at this moment, I'll accept it, drink some water, and then get back to it. Like,
exactly.
Forgiving yourself for not being perfect, because we're not perfect.
I relate
to that. Did you take a shower? Did you start your routine off? Are you at least making steps forward? And that's an amazing place to be in.
It is, and it's totally opposite of where we have been. Because we all own that crown of self-sabotaging and self-beating ourselves up. You know, especially, we're our hardest critics when we really need to be our biggest cheerleaders.
Yep, I agree with that completely, because, like, in a sick way, people enjoy seeing you not accomplish your goals, because then you want to talk about it, and then they're like, oh, well, I didn't accomplish my goal either, so let's go distract ourselves and go get ice cream. Like,
misery.
No. Yeah, and I've realized, like, yeah, I can complain about my situation, but how long is that gonna make me stuck there? Even just saying it out loud. Like, nobody really cares unless they're like, oh, well, JC's doing bad now, so let's tell the entire community that she's doing bad, and like, they're not going to do anything about it.
Exactly.
They're really not.
You know, and when you're awakening and on this path and you start pulling away from others, they're still watching and they're waiting, you know, for us to make a mistake or fall or what have you. And that's just part of that human twin impulses we were just talking about, because they come from that. They're still part of that matrix programming. When you start to heal and bring in more light and more truth, you're going to irritate the people who are still kind of in that darkness, that don't want to grow. but they don't want to see you grow either.
Yeah.
You know, and getting to that place within oneself where we know, you know what? I don't have to share my spirituality, beliefs, or practices with anybody. And that's okay because we're not meant to. It's not our role or our job to change anybody or push anything down anybody's throat. We're here to express God through us, through our lives, to be a living example, just like Jesus was, and to honor everybody where they're at. You know, where this path calls for us to come from essential harmlessness and to not have any conflict with others, because conflict is all altered ego. And when there is conflict, we just sit in that. This path is more about rising up and out of that and saying, you know what? I don't need to change anybody else's thoughts or opinions, you know, and just because I actually had this conversation this week with somebody who I love dearly. She's very close to my heart, but she doesn't approve of me with the tarot cards. And I just said, you know, I love you and I honor and respect you. But I like them, and I'm not gonna tamper down myself because you think I'm going to hell because the Bible doesn't like tarot cards. I don't like the Bible. And that started a whole other conversation. But it was good because I didn't come from it from the old way of like being triggered and, oh, she doesn't approve of me. Where before that was an issue. Now I just was able to smile and say, I love you. And, you know, you don't have to believe what I believe. And I'm sorry that you live in such fear and that you're wasting energy fearing I'm going to hell. I'm not.
Yeah.
It doesn't exist. But that's okay, you know, and kind of made a joke again about and yes, I don't be surprised if you see me on a stand-up comedy stage one day. But talking about the whole Christian religion, about you've got to save other people and that Jesus came to save you. Well, no, Jesus didn't come to save anybody. He came to teach. He came to teach the truth of consciousness. The people didn't want to hear it. But he didn't come to save anybody. And, you know, one of the things I said to this person was, you know, that's great. I honor your beliefs, but do you have a frequent saver card? Are you getting, you know, a front row seat in heaven by how many people you convince that that's the truth, you know, type of thing? And it's like, well, no, you don't. So why are you putting so much energy? And this is my question to all of religion. Who knows? Maybe one day I'll get a platform to say it. Why do you feel the need to push fear onto others when you could be using that energy to get rid of the fear and doubt and heal and find truth and freedom and come from love?
Yeah. That all ties into like surrendering. That's what I've been noticing lately is like you just have to surrender to the divine, like you say it often. And what that means for me is like I can preach and preach and preach and preach all this stuff and about my awakening and having attachments or the things that have happened throughout my spiritual journey, and it will scare scare people so badly where they're like, oh my gosh, like I don't even want to be around JC because like she has demons or whatever, like whatever they want to cultivate my story as. But surrendering that and knowing like the people who are supposed to be around me, who want me, who need to hear what I have to say, will come to me. I surrender and I will listen to the I am push inside of me, and I will do what I signed up to do. I'm not going to force it on anybody else. And
it's the divine way, because each one of us, we're unique. We are here to express God how we see fit, as long as we're coming from the one law. There's only one real law, which is the law of love. Love your brother as you love yourself. That's what Jesus really was teaching. And, the truth of the matter is, like she was saying, aren't you afraid? I'm like, no, I have no reason to be afraid. I said, if you don't discover the truth now in this embodiment, when you lose this body in transition, you'll get the truth. I'll see you again. We're okay. But yeah, when we could free ourselves from the worry and the fear, because people they will see you different. You vibrate different. And it's just such a beautiful thing when we don't have to get into that conflict of religion and beliefs. But that's not going to be the same for everybody. I mean, you guys know I had to walk away from actually all my family and friends, because they were so indoctrinated in that. And I get it was a big shock for them to see me who used to preach the Bible, believed it, all of that stuff, to now going, no, this isn't what that was a part of my life then. Why? Because it led me to here, because that whole time that I was in religion and seeking truth, underneath, I knew it wasn't full truth, but I knew that was my avenue to get in and to really understand everything, to be able to do what I do now. And so anybody who has religion in your background, it was all for a purpose. It was all for a purpose. We had to understand, what are they teaching? And we felt it. And you guys who came from church, I know you felt something was off as well, and that's why we do our own searching. And never stop asking questions, never stop searching for truth, because there's so much out there.
Dr. Denae, one of the things that came up is, as you said that you walked away from that which no longer resonated or aligned with where you were. I've wondered about that. I've had friends or other people have said, well, geez, Joan, especially when I've counseled people over the years in certain beliefs around money and breaking rules and understanding what it really is, the incredible lies that have been told and the falsehoods around money and energy and all that. So I've had somebody say, well, you told me years ago, blah, 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 but now you're saying like the opposite. Which is it, Joan? And I think you spoke to this in that as we evolve or awaken, we realize how false that teaching was, or that conditioning we had.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly. And, my response to that, because obviously I get that a lot.
Sure.
From one extreme to the other. But that's my personality. Yeah, my response to that is the truth never changes, it evolves. And, when you discover the truth, and this same person, which, after this class, I will compose my dissertation for her and email it to her, because she wants to research for herself, which I'm excited about, but why I do not trust the Bible and why I will not go by anything in the New Testament. Valid question, and I will answer that. But yeah, you do get that a lot. Well, what is it? Well, it was true for me back then, but I didn't know what I know now. And that's the thing with life. We're not here to stay stuck or stagnant on any one thing. We're meant to evolve. And I had a conversation with a pastor not too long ago, who was trying to convince me I'm wrong. And I just said, did you die? Have you left your body? Did you meet Jesus? Because if you didn't, we don't have anything to talk about, because you cannot tell me my experiences were false when you're going off of a book, but not true experiences. So if you want to talk about true experiences, and if you want to talk with an open mind and open heart, I'm happy to talk the Bible. But if you're not, if you're just here wanting to shame me and put fear in me and basically scold me that how dare I, teach what I teach now, I don't have time. Your projected energy out of your fears is not going to stop me anymore. And unfortunately, it did stop me for a long time, what my family and friends thought. So guys, that's real, honor that and acknowledge that. But you get to decide, are you here to live life for others? Or are you here to live your life? And like I told my friend, I said, I love you dearly, but I'm going to do me. And if it doesn't resonate, that's okay. But if it does resonate, hey, I'm here to help. I'm here to answer any questions. But I don't have animosity or anything like that. I just send you nothing but love. Let's see, Brittany. I never understood why so many people care so much about others' beliefs and why they believe it. In my opinion, that's a major trigger. Yes, that's because that's what religion teaches. Each religion teaches that they are the only way, that they are the truth. That right there. Anytime anybody says I'm the only, or this is the only way, this is the only truth, run. Make like Forrest and run. God is love, perfection. It's in everything in the universe. I'm excited that next week we're going to dive into how it all came to be. Again, why scientists say what they say and they don't look at the truth. We're going to break all of that down. Sherry, I saw your comment. Yeah, guys, and you're going to be seeing that. A lot of people are going to be triggered by your growth, your come up, your knowledge, and your enlightenment. And remember, altered ego loves to debate. It loves chaos, conflict, and arguments. And that used to be a struggle for me. I would be the first one to be like, well, I know all this. Let's go. Let's rumble. Oh my God, that was ego and just created more crap for me. Now it's like with my friend. Okay, I know I could only go so far. Outside of that, I just kept changing the conversation. And Jesus talks about this too. He couldn't talk to everybody. Multiples came to him. He didn't heal everybody. He didn't give everybody his attention or energy. He used his discernment because he knew they were so entrenched in dogma, they weren't going to be able to receive. And when he said to the people that he did heal, go and sin no more, what he was talking about was the mind. Go and do not get back into the same thinking that caused this in the first place.
Dr. Denae, one of the things that I had a client say to me, well, I need to get out of my masculine left side and I need to be in my right side and all that. Isn't that altered ego also where you're denying that both together are together on purpose? There's a purpose.
Exactly. That is absolutely an altered ego trap. Because if we're either side or in, we're out of balance, we're in ego. We need to be in that state of neutrality, blending both together.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah. Anyone else? All right.
I do, not to take over the whole show here.
Go ahead.
You mentioned that sin is an artificial concept, which yes, I get that. Had years ago that actually popped up for me. And you can't offend God. I think that that's the part that we really have fallen trapped to, is that if I do this, then I'll, blah, blah, blah. And I think you said a while back that God doesn't talk. I mean, maybe it was Panache Desai, who I also have a deep relationship with and mentor from. And he speaks so much because, like you, he had a huge awakening that was deep, and he speaks to the same thing. If you haven't had that, like died and met Jesus, then you're teaching from books and other people's beliefs. So it goes back to God. You can't offend God, and God doesn't really talk to you in the way you think, like a man would speak to you in, like a real man's voice or something. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely true. Yeah, and we can't offend God. And, we came to that because what do we hear all the time? Not even just in church, but that's where it started, but in society and everything. God don't like ugly. God don't like this. God, shut the hell up. You don't know what God likes. You're talking about man. You're following a man-made God that doesn't exist. Because if we break it down, the God of the Bible, he seems very human, very edgy, very, that just doesn't make any sense. But no, you can't offend God because God is not part of the human consciousness. And, just
Honestly, I feel like what that means is don't do something if you're going to be ashamed of yourself. Like, if you're not going to be able to handle the fact that you made that decision or you chose to go down that path or whatever, like even snapping at the drive-through lady, whatever you chose to do, it's saying don't act as that. Do not act to shame yourself because you are the only one, like you're going to be affected by it most. I could yell at you and be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you said that. And then later on, I'm like, I shouldn't have talked to her that way, blah, blah, blah. Like beat myself up for the choice. So I feel like that's what that means is don't make those choices if you're not going to agree with it later.
exactly. And that's how altered ego traps us all the time. Because altered ego thinks it's God, and it thinks it knows everything. And it legitimately thinks it's protecting you. It's just a bit twisted. But yeah, because God is only in the realm of love and perfection. And yes, we have free will, but nothing that we do is held against us. Sin, the real word for that is mistake. And, how do we learn? We learn by mistakes. So why is it we were taught to fear making a mistake? Because it's sin. No, it's not. But yeah. And so that's what Jesus was talking about, the power of the mind. What you think will happen. And then adding in all the different dogmas.
Yeah. And like involving mistake, I give that to everybody. Like you have to learn from your mistakes. But if you continue to do that, like you're choosing you're choosing to like disrespect not only yourself but like the whole universe. That's like a personal choice at that time or at that part. And then it goes down a whole rabbit hole of narcissism and other things that we all know. But I've realized or like recognized that around myself lately. Like you can give 100 chances, but the real problem is that you're giving those chances whenever you see people they're not learning from their mistake. It's becoming a personal choice at that point. And that's
Exactly.
you don't want to be around.
And then we suffer, right? I mean, then we end up suffering. Yeah.
We become enablers.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
Tremendously.
I've had to cut off people and clients before as well if they keep doing the same thing and not really putting in the work to change it. It's like, you know what? right now is not the time for us to continue working together because you're making these choices, the same choices over and over. You're creating more karmic debt for yourself. And
Guilty. I
yeah,
recognize it in
and,
myself.
yeah, and you know how that goes. And I can only do that out of experience. I did it to myself for years,
Yeah.
so that's why I say there's never any judgment if I have to say, you know what? I don't think it's time for a session or whatever. It's also honoring that person because they are in an altered ego at that point. And a lot of times, it's a program, it's a pattern, but that just means there is still keys you need. And if I continue to step in and mentor you, guide you, or whatever, but you're in resistance to it, I'm enabling you to create more shit for your life.
Which doesn't that go back to what you said about Jesus, where he could be in this group of folks and he would pick some to, let's just say, heal them versus someone who he did not.
Yeah.
So he noticed that they just weren't in that level of consciousness to be able to actually accept it or sustain it.
Exactly. And there's no judgment in it, but altered ego won't hear that. But it's because when altered ego is acting out and has such a hold of us, we can't hear truth. We can't see truth. We're yearning for it. We're desperate. We're anxious. We've actually activated that law of paradoxical intent. And so that's why I just go, nope, I'm not going to fight anybody's ego. I'm going to let you deal with ego, find your keys, what you need, because at some point you will come out of that and you'll be that clay vessel who's ready to learn and heal and grow. But when altered ego is running the show, we're like marble. You can't mold marble. You can't do anything with it, really. So until that person, whoever it is, gets back into the clay.
So could you say a little bit more about the paradoxical, if I could say the word, paradoxical intent?
Yeah.
So is that where you want this, but you really aren't able?
The law of paradoxical intent is when you're wanting to manifest something from a very desperate type of desire energy. So you could be saying, so let's take your client, for example, one of your clients, your mythical client. There we go. We're making up a client for you. They want financial freedom. They want to be a millionaire. Okay, great. But if you're so desperate to do that and you are go, trying to make that happen, you're an altered ego, you're marble. You're not going to be able to absorb the truths to see how you can get to that $1 million.
Yeah, and I had someone call me yesterday. That's why it's so deep for me right now, is that she calls for me to work with her and quote unquote help her, guide her. Yet same thing, she's in this total panic mode. Mm-hmm. And she made a decision before she even actually worked with me to see if that's actually a good path to go on for her. Not my path, but hers. And I thought, wow, she's already decided and already off and running. I even questioned it. I said, you're off and running already, and you really haven't actually let any other option come forth. In other words, the altered ego was totally in charge. So that's paradoxical intent, where you're going out of that panic, push, got to do it, even though there's no way.
Yeah. And so she'll start to experience more lack. More
Yes.
What she's afraid of, because the law of paradoxical intent will attract to you what you don't want, because that's the biggest or the heaviest vibration your cell is sending out.
I get it. That makes sense. It's like being totally afraid when I was diagnosed with cancer and finally got to the point where, wait a minute, this is not going anywhere, Joan. Take a breath and be in deep prayer and meditation and love and accept body, then make a decision. And that was powerful. And it gives me chills right now, because in the past, it would have been hurry up, run, make a decision, and do whatever they tell you, or do whatever you think is best, even though your brain is the one making the decision, or the ego, not you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Thank
that,
you.
and that,
Mhm.
Yeah. So definitely sounds like she's activated the paradoxical intent.
Mhm.
And the only way to get out of that is through meditation, to calm the altered ego down so it shuts up and quits lying to you, right?
That is one tool. But in this type of incident or instance, paradoxical intent, you need to talk back to it.
Uh-huh.
You need to talk back to it and say, okay, I recognize, whatever it is, let's say mortgage is coming up, car payments coming up, you got nothing. And I'm trying to think where I was going.
Where you have to talk back to it, what you have to do.
How am I going to do this? What's going to happen? Da, da, da.
Okay.
In that moment, you need to be able to stop and say, wait a minute, let me take a few deep breaths. I am financially taken care of. Because when you activate I am, that's the word, that's the name of God in action. Anything behind that has to come to pass. So if you're saying, I am grateful that my mortgage is paid for, my bills are paid for, and I have extra. You need to first talk to yourself, tell yourself what your truth is, allow your feelings to come up to match that truth, then go into meditation. Because if you go into meditation in that desperate energy, that's altered ego, and you're not going to get out what you need to get out of that meditation. Does that make sense, Jenny? I can't hear you. I can't hear you if you're talking, Jenny.
Sorry. So somebody was at the door making a delivery, so I muted myself. Yeah, so we talked to it, try to quiet it down.
Yeah, so to give you an image, altered ego was created out of your own thoughts. So to bring altered ego back into a balanced state, you have to change your thoughts first. So that's why talking to the fear or the doubt or whatever it is has to be done first. So you're putting your attention not on the problem, not on the lack, but you're putting it on source, speaking your new truth that, the money will show up, then feel into that, then go into meditation with gratitude and knowing that it's already showing up. You're not going to go into meditation and bring anything about money, finances, supply, need, none of that. Because that's not the place for it. You set that intention before. Then when you go into meditation and you get quiet, and I know it may not be quiet all the time, but you're in there, that's when you're allowing soul to speak inwardly to your cells and help eradicate that old program, those old thoughts about the money or love or whatever it is.
Okay, thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. So that way, when you go into meditation, you've already dealt with yourself. You've already dealt with altered ego and said, look, I hear you, but that's not what we're doing today. That is not my truth. Feel into that, then set that intention for meditation of, you know what, soul, I am presence, God, whatever you call it. This is my time with you. This is my golden 10 minutes, whatever. I'm just here to receive from you. So meditation isn't to get anything, it's to receive. And I know that sounds weird because get and receive can be the same thing. But energetically speaking, you're going into meditation to just be.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, guys. I'm looking forward to next week. We're going to, like I said, get down to the nitty-gritty of the Big Bang and science and all of that, how we were all created, and that will eventually lead up to the sex and that consciousness explosion and what happens with the man and the woman. Yeah, we're going there. So we going there, guys. We going there. We going to be talking about ejaculation. Yes, I said. Oh my goodness. Yeah, yesterday when I was kind of going over the slides and sitting there with Jesus going, all right, because at first that's what came up and I was like, wait a minute. Let me get some background first before we just start talking about that. And my husband looks over at me. He's like, why is your face so red? I'm like, well, because this is what I'm going to be talking about. And he's like, oh, okay. So, yeah. Let's talk about sex, baby. Yes.
Did you need a cigarette when you were done?
What was that, hun?
Did you need a cigarette when you were done?
Or my Snoop wine. If any of you guys drink wine, if you haven't tried Snoop Dogg's wine, it's actually really good. So anyways, yeah. So that's what we've got coming up the next couple of weeks. So yeah, you're going to find out more about cells, atoms, quantum physics, and sex that you probably haven't heard before. And then I'm sure that's going to lead up to, because I know I promised you guys a course in womb healing and sacred sex, so that will be leading up to this. We will get there. All right. Yeah, hopefully I can get through
doing it.
What?
And we'll have fun doing it.
We will. I mean, come on. If I'm talking sex, there's no way this is going to be prim and proper and sorry. If you guys haven't figured out by now, I'm not that prim and proper. I try, but not really. It just doesn't fit. Oh, I've seen it. I'll try it. You Snoop. Yeah, his wine was really good. I believe it's bottled out of a winery in the Central Valley that I love, but that's not for me to disclose.
So I have a question. What's your favorite Waterloo water?
You know, there are a few, like this black cherry is one I really like. We just got some new flavors. We had a blueberry lemonade. That was really good.
Yeah, I was just looking at the list on the online because I've not ever heard of it. So thank you for the suggestion. I'll look into it.
Yeah, I had never heard of it either. And one of the grocery stores had it on sale. And I'm kind of picky about my water. Like sparkling water and stuff was never my thing. But I love it. I am hooked now. And there's a few LaCroix flavors I could do. But Waterloo has this is my all-time favorite. Do you have Earth Fair out there, Joan? I can't remember who was out there or not when I was there.
I don't think so. At least it isn't near where I live, so I'll take a look.
I remember it being over there, but Earth Fair, Whole Foods.
Actually, Safeway. They said Safeway actually carries. I was surprised.
I miss Safeway so much. You have no idea. Yeah, Safeway will have it. I do. I miss Safeway. I miss being able to go in, and you guys know I'm not really a drinker, but I do miss being able to go into Safeway and buy whatever the hell I want. Here in
Yeah.
no. You can't buy alcohol in a grocery store. You literally have to go to a liquor store to buy it. And
Yeah, I remember that when I lived in Virginia and other areas, it was ABC stores and they weren't open 24/7 or 7 days a week. No.
oh no, they're not. And the beer has to be separate from the spirits. And I'm just like, oh my God, people. Anyways, yes. I can't stand the soda water flavor in others. Yeah. Yeah, I could not stand sparkling water of any kind. And then I tried this and I went,
Oh, it's good to know because I couldn't stand sparkling water either. So now I'll give it a whirl. Thank you.
you're welcome. Yeah, Whole Foods would have it. Safeway, I don't think anybody in here is out my way, but Publix, Lowe's, anything like that.
Mhm.
Yeah, definitely Safeway. All right, you guys, I've got to run my son to work. So
Bless you. Thank you.
later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so
Guys.
much.
But yes, thank you guys for hanging out with me today. And when the replay is available, I will email that and the deck to you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thanks
so much.
for everything.
I hope you have a good rest of your day.
You too, guys. Love you. Bye-bye.
Love you. Bye.